Namaste. So, in view of the ongoing disease, whatever pandemic, we can have some reflections from Sri Aurobindo and the mother directly. So, we are very fortunate. Sri Aurobindo and the mother's light and is there on every subject, every aspect. Normally, we divide life into life of yoga, spiritual life, and life in the world. So, we try to say that for life in the world, we need all these science and technology, etc. But for life of yoga, is meant only for the other world. But in Sri Aurobindo and the mother, we find a very beautiful synthesis where they have not only explained life in the world but shown us how to make it beautiful, how to make it safe, how to make it strong, how to make it ultimately divine. So this is where we can take this guidance from Sri Aurobindo, and I thought we can take some of these aphorisms which are on disease and medical science. So the aphorism on which Mother has a very small comment is: disease is needlessly prolonged and ends in death oftener than is inevitable, because the mind of the patient supports and dwells upon the disease of his body. So there are two aspects in any case, in every illness, in every aspect of human life. One is the physical, the other is the psychological, even if we don't bring in the spiritual dimension. So when we have a physical illness, what we should do is turn your mind away from that. Don't, and if you have to bring in the mind, bring it with this idea that I'll be fine, everything will be good. Which means also that people who are around, which includes caregivers, which includes parents or friends or doctors, sisters, they have a great role to play. Because when a person is sick, generally, unless you are a very strong person, right from young age or childhood, we tend to depend upon the views of others, and we have empowered many people. For instance, for medicine, you have empowered that only the doctor can pass a final verdict. For similarly, for every aspect of life, we have empowered things which are outside us. And while it is one thing to know the technological aspects and know the processes, but empowerment means that I have given the final decision-making choice to someone. So that is something which is a little like, we have a hypnosis, where in hypnosis you give your will in the hands of others. So there is something called as collective hypnosis, in which a whole mass of mankind allows its will to be handled by a few human beings who claim to know. Understand? So it can be very dangerous, because who knows? The only person who knows is the divine. And it is only to the divine that we can hand over the entire responsibility. So here is the divine, someone who has realized and knows how the different things function. And when Sri Aurobindo says so, he's not saying something just like, he had a revelation. Sri Aurobindo and the mother took every illness in their body, and they have worked upon it, understood it, processes. So it's not like just a revelation and an insight, but something which has been tested again and again in the laboratory of their own body. When Nirodha asked him, he replied that yogic force, for thousands of times I have tested it. Then only I can speak with conviction about it. It's not just that you have an insight, but you have not tried it. So here is Sri Aurobindo revealing to us, which modern science is also discovering it, that mind has a role to play. So what is the role of the mind? Mind's role is to calm the body, to quieten the body, to fill it with beautiful, positive thoughts. And since our mind, unfortunately or fortunately, is connected with other minds and gets influenced by other minds, it's very important that all the caregivers who are around, all the people who are around, all the friends who are around, they don't induce fear. Instead, they induce faith in the healing process. I remember long back when somebody came to see me, and said, usually you shake hands. So he said, I'm sorry, but I have got a cold. So I'm afraid that, I may pass my cold to you. So my reply was, maybe I can pass my health to you. So, so there is a contagion of illness and there is a contagion of health. Once we understand it, then we understand that everybody who is around us has a role to play, not just the doctor. Everybody who is around a patient, whether you are on WhatsApp, you are on phone call, because you talk to people, the nurse, sisters, care, all of them, and our own mind has a role to play in our physical illness. The way the mind will put the switch, that way the body will run. So the first sutra Sri Aurobindo reveals to us is, disease is needlessly prolonged and ends in death oftener than is inevitable. Sometimes it may happen, but more often it ends in death. Because the mind of the patient supports. How does the mind support? Mind supports by saying, I have got an incurable disease. I have got cancer. I am going to die. I just have a few months before me, or a few days. Now, one has already supported this idea that the body must die. It is going to die. And dwells upon the disease of his body. So all the time it is dwelling on the disease of his body. And there is a very beautiful book written by one. Later on, a lot of different people have studied this. But there is a man called Norman Cousins, and he has written a book, Anatomy of an Illness. So he was all crippled because of rheumatoid arthritis. He noticed that when he would play music, that time everything vanished. And again later on it would come back. And the doctors at one point, they put him in that time arthritis was like today you have this pandemic. Oh, it will spread to everybody, put inside a jail, like tuberculosis. So people were put inside, confined. And he found the atmosphere of the hospital very disgusting. So one day he just decided to run away. So he ran away. It's very interesting stories. Even yesterday I heard some very interesting story about a corona patient who with SpO2 85. He is moving around. He was caught literally by the hospital. No, you come, he got admitted. Then in the evening he ran away. So wherever. Such stories I've seen very interesting. I've seen a patient who has a disease in which you can't move your muscles much. In 10 minutes you will get fatigued. And he used to say that I get fatigued. One day somebody scolded him. He got so hurt. He walked out and he traveled God knows where. He went to a bus stand. He slept at night there. Next day morning and he came back. So finally he came back. So I asked him that, why did you go? No, because so-and-so Dr. X scolded me so much, I was very hurt. I said, did you notice one thing? What, sir? I said, see, you walked everything and you went all the way walking and everything and you have come back and you believe that you have got an incurable disease because somebody has told you this. This disease is called myasthenia gravis. It's muscles get paralyzed very soon. And they get a sense of paralysis and they get very readily fatigued. But after coming in a comfortable environment, again the same problem has come back. So, when the mind supports. So this man, what he did was, he ran away from the hospital. I'm not giving any ideas or suggestions, but disclaimer. So he shut himself in a hotel. What did he do? He just watched fun movies. Charlie Chaplin and all these movies. So he just let his mind be away from the disease. And he slowly found that he didn't even try, let me see, is it having an effect? He said, this is so boring, let me at least, disengage. If you do it with the idea, let me see whether it's curing me or not, then mind is still on the disease. Just turn away into anything which you engage with, something which you find beautiful, something which you are happy to do. Just do that, not with the idea of looking back, okay, I have tried for one day, let me see whether it is having an effect on the body or not. Just turn the mind completely away from the disease and you see it has a tremendous effect. And that is one of the purposes of friends when they visit people. So what they should do is, they should talk beautiful things. But what do we normally do? Acha, the moment they come, first there is a grim face. क्या हो गया? कैसे हो गया? Now that fellow has told 100 people 100 times. Again, it's a vicious interest in, oh, this happened, I twisted my leg, and this. No need to do all that. Talk beautiful things. So, this is how we should remember that disease is needlessly prolonged and ends in death oftener than is inevitable, because the mind of the patient supports and dwells upon the disease of his body. And the mother's 3-word comment on it is, how absolutely true. Don't think about disease. Okay? Stay away from all these bombardments about disease. Namaste.